This is Questions of Courage, a podcast from the youth section at the Goetheanum, hosted by Nathaniel Williams.
Welcome to Questions of Courage. In this episode, I'd like to spread awareness about an event which is going to be taking place later this year. It's going to be happening in the United States on December 15th and 16th at Harvard University. It's called 100 Years Rudolf Steiner Conference. At this event, there's going to be over 70 presentations of papers, many different panels, some of them running parallel over 2 days. And it's an event that's being hosted by Dan McKanan. He's arranging it and creating it with colleagues. And Dan is a researcher who has dedicated significant energy and effort in exploring and honoring anthroposophy, also critiquing some aspects of anthroposophy, and particularly exploring intersections where it has had and might continue to have a really positive influence on very broad developments around the world. I'm most familiar with his study Eco-Alchemy, Anthroposophy, and the History and Future of Environmentalism. And in this book, he doesn't only trace the origins of the biodynamic movement, which began with Rudolf Steiner and a number of farming colleagues and scientists, but it traces this movement and its many intersections, not only with the emerging organic movement through figures such as Aaron Fried Pfeiffer, but also with the ecological movement, Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, the first community-supported agricultural initiatives in North America, and also new forms of thinking about finance, investing in land and preservation, and caring for land in steward ownership situations with farmers, with such banks as GLS in Germany and Triodos in the Netherlands. It's a very interesting study, and it was published in 2017, and one of the things that really struck me about this work was Dan describes himself in the book as a sympathetic outsider. He's not himself an anthroposophist. He shares that he's a Unitarian, but he also shares how anthroposophy has shaped and changed his own views of what is required for the future of environmentalism. And, looking at the history of biodynamics, of the efforts around associative economics from a slightly outside perspective can be really encouraging. And I think that the picture that Dan paints, it's not uncritical, but it really shows how much of the work from countless people around the world has spread out and had a positive influence on so many different levels over the last 100 years. And there's another way that it gives an outside perspective, one through Dan's own situatedness and orientation, but another one just because it's in the English language and, a kind of comprehensive positive picture of the influence of anthroposophy, the kind that he shares in this study Eco-Alchemy. I don't know if it would be possible in the German-speaking landscape, also the academic landscape, and which is certainly due to a whole array of complex reasons that are connected with the history of Germany and also maybe less independence in the universities. Harvard, for instance, is an independent university. It is not connected with the state, and that feeling of independence and academic independence also to explore what might be seen in the public as controversial issues, which Dan does, has been a part of Harvard's history and the whole vision of higher learning in the United States for a long time. Indeed, the separation of higher education from the state was a very conscious decision. And when we look at what's called the Ivy League schools, which are indeed today very interconnected with the state and also many large corporations. When we look in the history of these universities, this independence was a very proud identity in their establishment and their identity as cultural centers and centers of teaching and research. And so the fact that it's happening at Harvard is also because of this history of higher education in the United States. And to be able to look from the other shore of the Atlantic back to Rudolf Steiner's work and so many other people who are working towards deeper contemplative knowledge is a really unique gift that Dan's study offers. And this area that he opened up with his study, in a way, this year, it's going to be even expanded more. I know that in a week, there's going to be an event at Heliopolis University in Egypt, where questions of sustainability will be explored. In a way, in celebration of a compendium that has been prepared with lots of love and labor, mostly from Johannes Kronenberg, who works at the Goetheanum, but also Edith Lammerts van Bueren, a scientist in the Netherlands. And this is a book which is called On the Earth We Want to Live. And it is a large book. There's 27 contributions from organizations that have been inspired by Anthroposophy and which are called kind of sustainability natives in the framing of this book. It's being published with Springer Nature, and it will be available open access online when it appears, which may not be till November, though it was planned to be released already in September. And I feel like this event in Harvard, Dan's interesting and kind of also crucial study and discoveries in eco-alchemy and what is now emerging in this publication that Van Buren and Kronenberg are going to be releasing. It's a hopeful note in a time when a lot of people are experiencing a lot of cynicism and despair for reasons that are very understandable. A lot of young people feeling hopelessness, and there cannot be a doubt about it. One of the great challenges of our moment is to be able to not only criticize and to point fingers and to call what we consider destructive out, but also to identify really positive ways that we can think and that we can actually align our actions with different understandings, maybe deeper understandings, that can lead towards a good future. And so it's a spirit of kind of optimism and appreciation for the work of so many people in the last generations, and many people right now still all over the world working with these fruitful seeds of anthroposophy that I'm speaking at the moment, and I'm very much hopeful that more and more awareness and initiative can come out of this growing awareness. Questions of Courage is a project of the youth section. It's a collaboration with Goetheanum TV and also the communication team. It's a very modest project, but like all things at the Goetheanum, it's only possible because people who are interested and enthusiastic about what is being aspired for have volunteered, left legacies, made donations, and I'd like to invite you to consider that, as I do at the end of every episode, to make future work possible. Whatever you give will go into youth section work in the future. Thank you.